Mohenjo Daro, Sindh, Pakistan, around 1900 BC. A city of 40,000 people goes silent. There is no fire, no siege, no sacked temple, no burned palace, no invading army recorded in any surviving text. The streets are simply abandoned. Skeletons are found scattered in the ruins, some in postures that suggest sudden death, but no mass graves, no weapons, no evidence of battle. One of the most sophisticated cities on Earth, a city with covered sewers, standardized brick, and a writing system nobody has ever been able to read, disappears from history so completely that it will take 4,000 years and a British archaeologist's lucky guess to even remember it existed. But before this silence, this was the largest and most advanced urban center on the planet. A civilization that stretched across more territory than Egypt and Mesopotamia combined, that built the world's first sewage systems, that achieved a level of urban planning Europe would not see again for 3,000 years, and that left behind a script scholars still cannot translate. I'm Ethan, and today we're reconstructing Mohenjo Daro at its absolute height, a city so advanced and so mysterious that we still don't fully understand who ruled it, what they believed, or why they vanished. This is the story of the civilization that time forgot. Around 2600 BC, on the banks of the Indus River in what is now Pakistan, a city begins to rise with a level of planning that has no precedent anywhere on Earth. Not Sumer, not Egypt, nowhere. This is the Indus Valley Civilization, also called the Harappan Civilization, after the first site discovered. At its peak, it will stretch across more than 1.25 million square kilometers, from the Himalayan foothills to the Arabian Sea, encompassing over 1,000 settlements. Mohenjo Daro is its crown jewel. The name itself is not ancient. It's Sindhi for Mound of the Dead, a title given by locals centuries later, long after the city had been swallowed by dust, unaware of just how prophetic that name would turn out to be. At its height, Mohenjo Daro housed an estimated 35,000 to 40,000 people across roughly 300 hectares, making it, alongside its sister city Harappa, one of the largest urban centers in the ancient world. And unlike Rome, unlike Babylon, unlike almost every other early city, Mohenjo Daro was not built gradually, chaotically, organically over centuries. It was planned from the beginning. Walk into the city and the first thing that strikes you is the grid. Streets run in near-perfect north-south and east-west orientations, intersecting at right angles, dividing the city into uniform blocks. This is urban planning so precise that modern archaeologists initially assumed it must be a later, more civilized culture, until radiocarbon dating proved otherwise. The city splits into two distinct zones. To the west, the Citadel, an elevated mound built on a massive mud brick platform, home to the city's most important public structures. To the east, the lower town, a sprawling residential district where most of the population lived and worked. And here is where Mohenjo Daro becomes almost unbelievable. Nearly every house, not just the wealthy ones, nearly every house was connected to a covered drainage system running beneath the streets. Wastewater flowed from private bathrooms through brick channels, covered with fitted stone slabs, out to larger citywide drains, and eventually beyond the city limits entirely. Manholes and inspection points allowed for maintenance. Soak pits captured sediment, so the channels wouldn't clog. This is not a luxury enjoyed by an emperor's palace. This is the ordinary standard of ordinary life, 4,600 years ago, a level of civic sanitation that most European cities will not achieve until the 19th century AD. Bricks throughout the entire Indus Valley, across sites separated by over 1,000 kilometers, are made to a standardized ratio, 4 to 2 to 1, length to width to height, every single one. This isn't coincidence. This is centralized regulation, a building code enforced across an empire-sized territory with no known monarchy, no known military conquest, and as far as archaeologists can tell, remarkably little evidence of warfare at all. At the heart of the Citadel sits the Great Bath, a watertight pool measuring roughly 12 meters by 7, sunk into the platform and sealed with bitumen, a natural waterproofing tar. Steps lead down into the water at both ends. Surrounding it, a colonnaded courtyard, small changing rooms, and a sophisticated drainage outlet to empty and refill the pool. Nobody knows exactly what it was for. Some archaeologists believe it was used for ritual purification, a precursor to practices still found in Hindu tradition today. Others suggest it served an administrative or civic function, entirely lost to time. What we do know is that the effort invested in waterproofing and maintaining this single structure suggests it held enormous cultural importance to the people who built it. Nearby stands what archaeologists call the Great Granary, a massive structure with a ventilated brick foundation, believed by early excavators to have stored surplus grain for the city and its surrounding farmland. More recent analysis has cast doubt on this interpretation, with some scholars arguing it may have served an entirely different, still undetermined purpose. Even the function of the city's most iconic buildings remains genuinely contested. This is the defining frustration and the defining fascination of Mohenjo Daro. We can measure its bricks to the millimeter. We can trace its drainage pipes street by street. But we cannot read a single word its people wrote. The Indus script appears on thousands of small seals, carved from steatite, most no larger than a postage stamp. Each seal typically depicts an animal, a humped bull, a unicorn-like creature, an elephant, a tiger, accompanied by a short sequence of symbols. Over 400 distinct signs have been catalogued, and in more than a century of study, no one has definitively deciphered them. We don't know what language it encoded. We don't know if it recorded a spoken language at all, or functioned more like a system of symbols and markers. We don't know the names of Mohenjo Daro's rulers, if it had rulers in any familiar sense. We don't know its religion, its laws, its wars, or its kings, because we cannot read a single sentence its people left behind. Picture yourself walking through the lower town, around 2000 BC. You are one resident among tens of thousands, moving through streets laid out with mathematical precision. Most homes are built around a central courtyard, offering privacy from the street doors and windows typically face inward, away from public view. Multi-story houses are common, built from the same standardized fired brick used throughout the city, with flat roofs likely used for sleeping during hot months and for household tasks. Nearly every home has its own private bathroom, a fitted brick floor sloping toward a drain that connects directly to the street's covered sewer system. Many homes have their own wells. This is not communal water hauled from a distant fountain, as in Rome centuries later. This is private plumbing in ordinary residential housing in the 3rd millennium BC. Archaeological evidence suggests a level of social equality that stands in stark contrast to most ancient civilizations. There is no clear evidence of a monumental royal palace. No obvious tomb of a god-king loaded with treasure, no pharaoh's burial chamber, no ziggurat proclaiming a single ruler's divine mandate. Some scholars argue this points toward a more collective or oligarchic governing structure, perhaps administered by merchant councils or religious authorities, rather than a single absolute monarch. Others caution that the absence of evidence isn't necessarily evidence of absence. A governing elite may simply have left behind structures or symbols we haven't yet learned to recognize. What is clear is that Mohenjo Daro was a trading powerhouse. Excavated seals bearing Indus script have been found as far away as Mesopotamia, in the ruins of Ur. In the trading ports of the Persian Gulf, evidence of long-distance commerce stretching over 1,000 kilometers by land and sea. Beads of carnelian, worked with a drilling technique so precise it wasn't replicated for millennia, have been found from the Indus Valley to sites across the ancient Near East. Lapis, lazuli, cotton textiles, ivory, timber, copper, and gold moved along trade networks, connecting Mohenjo Daro to civilizations who, as far as we can tell, never once invaded it or were invaded by it. Toys and artifacts recovered from the ruins hint at daily texture archaeologists rarely get to see. Small terracotta carts, whistles shaped like birds, dice remarkably similar to those used today, and gaming boards suggest a population with time and resources for play, not merely survival. Bronze figurines, including the so-called dancing girl, a small statue depicting a young woman standing with confident, casual posture, bangles stacked along one arm, offer a rare, startlingly human glimpse into individual lives that otherwise left no names behind. For roughly 700 years, this urban system thrives remarkably stable, remarkably peaceful by the standards of the ancient world. Weapons are strikingly rare in the archaeological record. No clear fortification walls built for large-scale military defense, no mass war graves, no burned palaces built by conquerors, gloating over a fallen enemy. And then, sometime around 1900 BC, it begins to end, slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. There is no single dramatic date to point to, no siege, no fire that swept through every structure in a single catastrophic night, the way Rome will burn under Nero or Jerusalem will burn under Titus. Instead, over the course of decades, maybe a century or more, Mohenjo Daro simply starts to decline. Building quality deteriorates. Large, well-planned structures are subdivided into smaller, cruder dwellings. The meticulous brick standardization that once stretched across 1,000 kilometers begins to break down. The drainage system, once the pride of the entire civilization, falls into disrepair. Trade goods from distant Mesopotamia stop appearing in the archaeological layers. The Indus script, never definitively cracked, simply stops being used altogether, its final seals fading into silence sometime after 1900 BC. So what happened? For decades, the leading theory was invasion, an Aryan invasion of light-skinned warriors from Central Asia, sweeping down and destroying the Indus cities, a theory partly built on skeletal remains found scattered in the upper layers of Mohenjo Daro's ruins, interpreted by early 20th century archaeologists as evidence of a final massacre. Modern archaeology has almost entirely dismantled this idea. The skeletons show no consistent evidence of violent death at a single moment in time. They appear to have accumulated gradually, likely from a city already in decline, its formal burial practices already breaking down. There is no layer of ash consistent with citywide destruction, no mass graves. No weapons in any quantity suggesting an invading army swept through and slaughtered the population. The far more likely culprit is nature itself. Climate data recovered from lake sediments and cave formations across the region shows that the monsoon patterns which fed the Indus River system began weakening dramatically around 2000 BC, part of a broader climatic shift, affecting civilizations across the ancient world. Some geological evidence suggests the Gagahakra river system, which may have supported extensive Indus Valley agriculture, dried up or shifted its course entirely during this period. Tectonic activity in the region Mohenjo Daro sits near a major fault line, may have altered river paths, triggered flooding, or disrupted the very waterways the city depended on for irrigation, transport, and trade. Imagine the slow horror of it. Not a burning city, not a single terrible night. Instead, a river that drifts a little further away each season. Floods that grow less predictable, then harvests that grow less reliable, then a trade network that quietly starts bypassing you, then a granary, whatever its true purpose, that can no longer be filled the way it once was. Some scholars now argue the population didn't vanish so much as disperse, migrating gradually toward the Ganges river system to the east, where new, smaller settlements begin appearing in the archaeological record around the same time the great Indus cities decline. Not an apocalypse. A slow, generational unraveling. As a civilization that had thrived on predictable rivers and long-distance trade lost both, piece by piece, until the grid of perfect right angles was left to the wind. By around 1300 BC, Mohenjo Daro is essentially empty. Sand and silt bury its perfect streets. Its granary, if that is truly what it was, stands empty. Its great bath, once meticulously waterproofed and maintained, cracks and fills with dust. And then, for nearly 4,000 years, the world forgets it ever existed. It isn't until 1922 that an Indian archaeologist named Rekaldas Bandyopadhyay, investigating a Buddhist stupa built centuries later atop the ancient mound, notices something beneath it. Brickwork, far older and far more precise than anything the stupa's builders could have made. Excavations begin, and slowly, brick by brick, drain by drain, the world rediscovers a civilization that had been erased not by violence, but by time itself. Today, Mohenjo Daro is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, its excavated ruins standing exposed to the same wind and heat that once buried them. Ironically, exposure to air and rising groundwater salinity now threaten to destroy in decades what 4,000 years of burial preserved almost perfectly, a race against decay that conservationists are still fighting today. The Indus script remains undeciphered to this day, one of the last great unsolved writing systems from the ancient world. Every few years, a new research team claims a breakthrough. None has yet been broadly accepted. Somewhere in those 400 symbols may be names, laws, prayers, or trade records, a civilization's entire inner life, sealed behind a code we simply cannot open. What survives is the blueprint, the idea that a city could be planned before it was built, that sanitation was a right, not a privilege reserved for the wealthy few, that civic infrastructure, clean water, private plumbing, standardized construction could serve tens of thousands of ordinary people, not just a palace elite. Modern urban planners still study Mohenjo Daro's grid layout as an early model of civic design. Its drainage principles, gravity-fed, covered, regularly maintained echo, however distantly, in the sewage infrastructure underneath cities today. Rome fell to fire and invasion. Jerusalem fell to siege and slaughter. Constantinople fell to plague and war. But Mohenjo Daro fell to something quieter, and in some ways more unsettling, the simple failure of a river to keep its promises, and a civilization that could engineer perfect right angles, but could not engineer its way around a changing sky. 4,000 years later, we still don't know their gods. We still don't know their kings, if they had any. We still don't know what their writing says. But we know they built covered sewers under every street. We know they gave ordinary families private bathrooms while pharaohs were still building tombs for themselves alone. And we know that whatever ended them, it wasn't an enemy at the gates. It was silence. If you want to walk the streets of more lost civilizations before they turn to dust, make sure to subscribe. Drop a comment below and let me know, which ancient world should we reconstruct next? See you on the next journey. Before we finish, I want to take a moment to recognize the people appearing on screen right now. To the members of this channel, thank you so much. Your ongoing support is what motivates me and helps keep this project alive. If you enjoy what we do here and would like to directly support the channel, I invite you to click the join button down below. To our members, and to everyone who is simply watching this video, thank you for your time.